Hey friends, I want us to start chapter 4, and our day is kind of crazy, so that's why I'm recording myself, so you'll be able to listen to me read chapter 4 to you and be accountable for the definitions and draw a line to match the word to the synonym. Synonym. What is a synonym? Synonym, that's a big word. Synonym means the same, a word that means the same as something. So, for example, if I said equal, equal is the same as equivalent. Equivalent's a big word. Equal is something that we more understand, we use. So a synonym means another word that means the same as the word. Okay? So first, before we start reading chapter 4, I wanted to go over the definitions. Okay? Your first word, this word is really big. Eavesdrop. Eavesdrop. That is, and you'll hear it in the story, and I'm going to point it out. So to listen secretly to what other people are saying. I'm sure you do that to your parents all the time. You just don't know what you're doing. So eavesdrop. Stationed, assigned to a position. So if you have a station in your classroom, you're assigned to that position for that amount of time until the timer goes off or the teacher says to switch. Raspy, having a rough, harsh sound. So sometimes our voices are real raspy in the mornings. Raspy. Lozenge, a small candy containing medicine. So we usually call them cough drops, but they have a fancy name too. Okay, so I will have you write those definitions too, but I wanted to go over those before we started chapter 4. So chapter 4, I want you to turn to chapter 4 with me so you can follow along. Okay, chapter 4 is titled Two Suspects. It starts on page 35. I want you to read quietly as I'm the super reader in reading out loud. Track your reading. Hold on. Okay, Casey and Marshall left the Star offices and headed back to the White House. That was a waste of time, Marshall said. We didn't learn anything. Yes, we did, Casey said. We now know how Darla Darling gets her information.
Cleaning up, and then get ready to head back to class.
But we don't know who's calling her, said Marshall. Right, but we do know it's someone with a scratchy voice. What's another word for scratchy voice? Raspy. So let me read that sentence again. Right, but we do know it's someone with a scratchy voice, said Casey. How does that help? Marshall asked. On TV, spies always try to disguise their voice. This guy's probably sounded that way on purpose. Turn the page. Okay, you're right, Casey said. But we do know something else. The caller has to be someone close to the president. Hey, wait a minute, Marshall cried. How about Arnold? He's always standing outside the president's door, and he's got a cold, so his voice is hoarse. Hoarse was in the previous chapter. Do y'all remember that one? Arnold? Casey stopped walking. Yeah, he could have overheard Mom and the president talking. But why would he tell Darla Darling? For money? Marshall said. Maybe she pays him for information. But she told us she doesn't know who the caller is, Casey said. How could she pay him? Marshall thought for a minute. Maybe Arnold told her where to leave the money. Then he goes and gets it later. Darla wouldn't have to know who she is leaving the money for. The kids kept walking. Soon they were at the White House. They walked to the rear parking lot. The private entrance was near some hedges. What is hedges? Bushes. Look, there's the vice president, Casey said to Marshall. What's he doing? They watched Vice President Kincaid. She had her hand cupped over her mouth and was speaking into a cell phone. She kept glancing around as if she didn't want to be overheard. Casey tried to eavesdrop. What was eavesdropping? To secretly listen. But she was too far away. The vice president snapped her phone shut, crossed the lot, and disappeared into the White House. Casey stared at the spot where the vice president had been standing. You know, Arnold isn't the only one who's always near the president's door, she said after a minute. The vice president walks in and out all the time. Miss Kincaid, why would she spy on the president? Marshall asked. I don't think she needs the money. I don't know, but Mom showed her the dress a few days ago, Casey said, and the president must have told her where they're going on their honeymoon. Let's keep an eye on her. The kids entered the White House through the private door. Arnold was stationed outside the president's private room. He sneezed and blew his nose. Hi, kids, he said. How's your cold? Casey asked. Arnold grinned and stuffed his handkerchief into his pocket. I think it's getting better, he said. Casey listened to his raspy voice. Do you know anyone named Darla? He asked. I don't think so. I know a Dora and a Denise, and my sister's name is Debbie, he said, but no Darlas. He took out a box of lozenges and put one on his tongue. Want one? He asked. They're cough drops, but they taste pretty good. They're called Minty Meds, and I take them for my sore throat. Arnold held out the box as he opened the door. No thanks, Casey said. When Casey and Marshall walked into the president's room, they got a shock. Casey's mom was crying. The president stood next to her holding a newspaper. Mom, what's wrong? Casey asked. She hurried over to her. The president held out the paper so Casey and Marshall could see. Darla Darling's column. The headline was at least 5 inches tall. It said, President may cancel wedding. Someone is spying on us, Lois said, wiping her eyes. They're hearing our private conversations. This has gotten serious, the president said. No one but us was a part of that conversation. He dropped into a chair. I can't believe someone on my staff is a spy. But if I have to, I'll fire everyone. Marsh and I have an idea who it might be, Casey said. She told her mother and the president what Darla Darling had said about her secret caller. Someone is giving Darla information over the phone, Lois said. Someone with a scratchy voice? Marshall went on. Yeah, and I guess who has a cold? Casey whispered. She pointed to the door through which they'd walk. Arnold? 4 pair of eyes looked at the door. Arnold? The president said. Well, he is always just outside the door, so he could have overheard, I suppose. Someone else knows all your secrets, Casey said. I'm not sure I want to hear this, the president said. Okay, who? The vice president, Casey whispered. That's the end of chapter 4. So I want you to go work on your definitions and the synonyms and the questions that it gave you.